There we go. Hi everyone. It's always a tricky thing to get that moment of getting it to go live. So welcome everyone. Okay. Excuse me, I'm going to run through the markets. So in order to make it a little bit more, you know what, I saved these settings. I'm just going to sort this out now. So it's 10. I did this all this morning. Not sure why it's not retaining that. I'm going to run through anything you want me to have a look at, but I'm also going to run through run through the whole list, top to bottom, whole gamut, and see what's going on. Let's go here, drop this down to 100 units, and let's change this. Chart settings. Just trying to create the bit of gap on that side, and I think that's fine. Cool. So let's have a look. Dollar index. So dollar index at the moment is still largely looking nice and bearish. Oh, it just hasn't saved anything. Or has it? Oh, you're killing me. Okay, sorry. So let's just go with this. The nice and bearish, broken through. According to my stuff, the next big level is 90. So there might be some daily levels in between, but the most significant levels between 90. I would expect 91 to offer a bit of potential bounce. And maybe, I mean, what would be great, I think, would potentially be to see price kind of possibly kind of work its way up. That could be something of interest across the board, but that's iffy. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. Right, then looking at, so basically in principle, I believe we're going to get a weaker dollar. This is great because if we look, actually going back to this, if we look at the bigger picture of the dollar index, it'd be great to see it kind of work its way out of that particular, just out of that rut. And you can see here it kind of pulled back and has been breaking down. I think we're going to go to 90. I mean, that looks pretty nice and bearish so far. It's early days, but it looks really good. And then we're going to start to approach this area. We obviously, once we hit 88, we start to encounter very choppy waters. But I think we're pretty good. So 90 makes the most sense. Especially because going back to the 20th of July all the way through until kind of effectively the 23rd of November, we've been stuck in that area. So that's what I'm really hoping for there, to see that happen. So what does that mean for euro dollar? It means that there's a very strong likelihood euro dollar is now breaking through. It's going to head up to 1.23. That should provide multiple opportunities on the lower time frames. I'm going to try this one more time. Multiple opportunities on the lower time frames, and we haven't really had that on euro, dollar, and sterling. We haven't necessarily had that recently. Had those kind of opportunities. So that's what I'm hoping for here. And we'll drop that to 100. And then last one, just annoying. If it does it again, I'll just ignore it, but it'd be nice to see it do that. And 100 units. There we go. So that looks really good, and that 4 hour looks really good, cyclical. So we're seeing the US dollar giving way, which is fantastic. But then the danger comes from just being overextended. So the daily, again, I think is probably just going to push on. It's not a very long way away. 1.23 makes a lot of sense. So it's Thursday today, so maybe by Friday, boom. So maybe just pushing all the way through. The problem with that is, excuse me, even the 4 hour may not retrace that well. So I'd keep an eye on the 2 hour. And 2 hours probably a good one to monitor that for those opportunities all the way. Hey guys, hey Dan, hey Roberto. So I think 2 hour, 1 hour is very good in those, and lower than that, but higher than that, you know, it could just spike all the way up from here. You might get one more retracement. The reason I say that I think it's likely to continue on is Friday nights the markets can keep pushing like crazy. They can do that, and I think it's not that far away. I think it could get there really quickly if you look at it kind of on that. It's just not that far away on the daily. It's one more day's worth of activity. So I think that's what's going to happen between today and tomorrow. Market, I think, is just going to push like crazy. That's where I think the probabilities lie. Sterling. Sterling will have a similar thing, but the problem is that note that sterling is already at a key level. It's already at a key level. So that's why I'm very conscious of that. Of the two, I prefer euro to sterling until we get to that key level. Do I think we're going to break through that key level? Probably. That might be the dollar hitting 91, and then maybe it wobbles around 91, and maybe next week we carry on down to 90. So just being cautious of that. So between now and Friday, I would just keep an eye on those key levels. Don't forget Friday, we've got non-farm payrolls. So that's also going to add volatility into it. We've got, we've got non-farm payroll and therefore increased volatility. So actually, I would probably be cautious of any trades by about 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm out until after non-farm payroll. And then actually, I think sometimes from about 3 o'clock onwards, you can get these insane trends. They can just keep going. From 3 o'clock until the market closes, it just goes. That can happen on currencies. So, possibility. Okay, so Aussie dollar is now free of its previous high. It's got a lot of potential as well. So again, I like the idea of that. Euro dollar is the best trending. Look at the look at the 2-hour chart for euro dollar. Looks really good. Beautiful, orderly behavior. Compare that to Aussie dollar. It's a little bit more spiking. But yeah, what kind of entries can I do? I mean, ideas are things like, kind of getting in above the high of this green candle with my stop loss below the low of this. We kind of have some favorable wins at this point in time, and then a 3-to-1 or 1-to-1 taking profit as we go. Kiwi dollar. Also, generally bullish. It's got to break through. It's got to break through this kind of. There's a level up here it has to break through, but that's a possibility there as well. So once it gets past that, I'll be more confident. It's definitely overextended on the daily, but it could also end up, again, if that dollar just falls away, we could see that these could end up pushing beyond their norms at any rate. Dollar yen. Beautiful, look at that. Breaking down, really, really cool to see that happen. Overall, you can see that the 4-hour and the 2-hour is not as good because of the key levels that we're around. Hi, John. Hi. Good to see. I have to look that way to see the names. Otherwise, you see what's on my screen. So I think first target for dollar yen is 103.93 back down to here. But the pressure should mount. It should break free of that and go through these. So if you're going to trade dollar yen, which is not the best one. Right now, it looks like euro dollar is really good, followed by maybe Kiwi dollar and then maybe GBP and Aussie dollar. But dollar yen to the downside is definitely viable. It's just not first on the list. And it's to the downside. The only thing that I would do as well, keep my ear to the ground with any mutterings from the Bank of Japan, BOJ, central bank, talking about not being happy with where their currency is. If they're not happy with it, they could potentially try to intervene or cause it to spike up, which means that there'll be massive bounces off these key levels. So you have to be prepared to take profit ahead of those levels if that happens. If they don't do it, then it'll continue down. Dollar Swissy. That is primo. So what I want to show you here, or what I want you to take note of, I'm also going to just balance this out a little bit, is on the 4-hour, this bottom quarter chart, is that kind of soldiers. I always call them like marching soldiers. There's a series of them, for goodness sake. There's a series of them just going like that in a very strong fashion, and that can often mean that there's incredibly good trends on those lower time frames. On the lower time frame, so that means that you get this orderly behavior over here. It looks really good. Daily's just broken through that level. So broken through that level, it should have momentum to carry it. So dollar Swissy again, and I think this, if we're lucky, this will carry on through till next week. We'll have continued trends across the majors, which is fantastic because we haven't had that in a long time. Okay, I mean, imagine trading a currency setup on the major and it actually goes 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. That would be great. So I'd keep an eye on that. I'd monitor the 2-hour, not the 1-hour, just because the cycles, and the 4-hour is going to retrace. It's going to. So there'll be good entries on the 4 hours and then shorter, lower time frames. But I like that. Dollar Swissy looking good, man. Dollar CAD. It's also starting to push through. Its lows there. Starting to push through. I put in a level there that I wanted to watch. So again, this is now coming on to the watch list. Now, what could happen is you could get dollar CAD, dollar Swissy moving today, and then dollar yen or dollar Swissy decide tomorrow to catch up. So what I'm saying is, even though it doesn't look that great now, the momentum's going to pick up, and then it could start trending in an orderly fashion. So just keep an eye on all of those. I think that they're great. Okay, Euro GBP. So the problem with Euro GBP is that it's largely a range-bound currency. It's still, it's still in the throes of Brexit, and therefore could be that. Hi, Michael. Hi. Fantastic. Yes, Dan. So Dan is saying they'll try. Oh, you can see what he's saying there. They'll try to weaken the yen, and I believe that's to be the case. They have a comfort zone with the dollar, where they like it to be in relation to the dollar, which they don't really care about as much with the pound. So pound yen can just do what it wants. But I notice US dollar, Japanese yen is always like in a range. So I think that's potentially the case. And so, which makes more sense if you come from South Africa, and that is definitely what they did there over the last 20 years, which wasn't really a clever idea in the long run. They weakened the currency in order to strengthen the export markets, but that didn't really help the whole economy. It helped a few people, but not everyone. So it's not a great idea necessarily. And then, of course, they can't recover when that currency is so weak that it costs you a week's salary or day's salary to buy a cup of coffee overseas. Anyway, that's range bound. So I'm not really a fan of Euro, GBP. What I also want to take note of is what's happening with Euro. Euro is it generally weakening? Is it generally strengthening? So Euro yen climbing up. I'm going to quickly jump through the JPY charts because they're all pushing up on the chart slightly. You can see this is not bad. When it's run like this and it's retracing here, I usually expect a deeper retracement. So I would expect there's probably going to be a daily retracement. So let's switch this up to a daily. I think there's a possibility here that there would be. There was actually this was a trade setup that I did a while ago, and I looked for a breakout below here and then highlighted this level could be a problem, and it actually was. And then the market almost went down to target. Anyway, and then it's now subsequently gone up, so that would have been interesting. There was some profit on that trade entering here, but yeah. Now there's someone coming to value the house, so that could be them. We'll have to see how that goes. Could be them. I have to just be a bit cautious. But then let's see. Give me a second. I'm going to just pause, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'll see if that's them. I should be streaming now. No, I should be streaming now. Just let me know you can see me. Just confirm that I'm back. It should still be live. But no, my fiance has got someone coming to value the house, and so they're coming. But they're not supposed to be here now. They're supposed to come back at 1 till 3. So no margin calls. So this is a problem. It's overextended on the daily. Thank you. It's overextended on the daily, and I think it's probably going to come back down. So there could be opportunities there. But looking at all the dollar-yen charts, the dollar-yen hitting low, as I said, then having a look, at pound-yen, euro-yen. So pound-yen is up at resistance. So we'll see. But it was prior to that, was leaning to that side. Let's look at Aussie-yen. Aussie-yen looking relatively bullish, kind of on the daily, perhaps a bit of a retracement. I think this is a valid trade idea. Strong resistance on the daily. We've got an uptrend. We've broken through that. Price is coming back down. I think either into the moving averages or back down to this key level. I think this is a valid trade idea. Aussie yen 4-hour time frame coming back down to test this key level, fib level, potentially, but anywhere in this area could be a potential turning point where it is going to turn around. And so turn around and head out, we'll see. So that's just the yen charts to me looking like they might want to be taking a retracement on the daily. So that daily, Kiwi yen potentially coming back down, CAD yen also potentially retracing. I'm just looking at the daily here. And Swiss yen also pushing on a little bit higher. So most of them have been pushing up, most of the JPY charts pushing up and then potentially coming back down. So the reason I jumped to those is because when I was looking at euro yen, I'm trying to distinguish if it's the JPY component of euro yen that's pushing it where it is. So I just quickly go through and do that. So let's carry on. Euro Swissy. So Euro Swissy is just a mess principally. I would scratch Euro Swissy, you know, as a check it every 2 days, or if you have time, check it every day. But when it moves, it will start trending. But it hasn't been trending. We haven't had any really nice trends since February. That was where we had some good trends. It's gone. So I would just leave it alone or not worry about it too much. EuroCAD looking good. That's a really nice daily chart. It's trending a little bit better, so that's interesting to me. So there's some good trends. Isn't always the case. Then we get to Euro Aussie. Not really trending that well. It's broken the previous downtrend. It's now looking more bullish than bearish. There could be some longs, but then again, immediately there's resistance here. So it's broken through resistance, comes back to test it, goes off, and now encounters resistance. So it's not ideal. I'm just saying I'd be cautious on that. Euro Kiwi. Euro Kiwi. It's more what this did. This is very bullish, the way that it put the brakes on and looks to climb. So Euro Kiwi, I would check the weekly. So I'm going to go look at the weekly. And this is an issue that it might want to come back up here and test these levels. So I think there's a possibility that Euro Kiwi is going to be short-term bullish. Short-term bullish to the upside. But it's, again, if you compare this chart to this chart has got a visually, you can see it's got a much stronger momentum. And if, remember, we only need 2 to 5 trades a week. And if you're going to trade something, better that you trade something that has a very strong momentum. So again, looking at Euro Kiwi compared to dollar CAD or dollar Swissy, I prefer that. Pound yen. So pound yen looks okay. It's sitting at resistance right here. But if we can break through that, then there might be some moves on it. Pound Swissy has broken the lows. It looks more bearish than bullish. So it might... So if you look, there's the 2 hours producing a bit of a bearish candle on the sell zone, and that's producing a bearish candle on the sell zone. It might be continuing down. But again, as soon as it doesn't look great, it's higher risk. Doesn't mean we're not right, that it won't go, just that it is higher risk. GBP CAD, just a mess. It does look like it wants to go higher, so it looks really good on the 15 minutes. But then as soon as you look at the 4 hours, it's in a range. Not great. Pound Aussie. That daily says it all. So I'm going to mark that area until we get out of it. That's just a problem area. Pound Kiwi. Okay, so Pound Kiwi I marked out actually on the daily for a potential for it to come back to that area and then potentially continue on down. So I maintain that. I maintain that. There's definite resistance up here, so it might do that. But if it does break up through that, then I think it could encounter resistance up there. So not great. Aussie Kiwi. Interesting enough to me, Aussie Kiwi, which is not always a... it's good popular with algos because it isn't... It's Aussie and Kiwi don't stray too far from each other. Like Euro GBP, Aussie Kiwi, Euro GBP. Proximity, geographically, they're close to each other. And economy-wise, and so they tend to compete with each other. They tend to range a lot. They can trend, but they also range a lot, even more compared to other currencies, because they're great for algos. The grid trading algos love that. But it's been performing quite well. It's in an area now which, to me, is a really nice break and a retest of that. So there could be shorting opportunities here. So the way in which I could do that is, I'll feel more comfortable once I see that daily produce a bearish rejection candle. But it is possible that that 2 hour chart could start going into a downtrend. So that's or 1 hour could start going into a downtrend. So that could be good for shorts. Aussie CAD looks like it's building as that looks very much like a very messy flat level breakout to the upside. But then as soon as you you look at the daily, looks like it's going to head up, but strong resistance there. So caution, but that could be a flat level breakout to the upside, but it's really spiky. Just not great. Not great. Definitely not a 10 out of 10 trade. That's like a 6 out of 10 trade. Aussie Swissy looks like it wants to go down. It's looking more bearish than bullish. Not happy with that. So Aussie CAD, Aussie Swissy, not really happy with those. Aussie Yen, as I said, Aussie Yen looks good. And that must be driven by by the Japanese Yen because that's the only one that looks really good. Kiwi CAD. Problem with Kiwi CAD is we can see the momentum is bullish. But it's really choppy. It's very difficult to navigate. Kiwi Swissy. Bearish. Again, coming down. So, there could be a small window of it's overextended, or maybe it's going to do a bit of a weekly retracement down. Therefore, in this area, excuse me, from where we are now, kind of to, as we start to approach these other levels of, there could be a small window of shorting opportunities as we go down. So there could be, if price is going to head down, there could be short-term shorting opportunities within the context of that bigger trend. Kiwi yen is still quite bullish overall. It's starting to break through weekly resistance, and therefore the monthly is up there. So Kiwi yen might continue to climb. CAD yen is a mess. It's still range bound here. It's a mess. I'd stay away from that. Swiss yen is looking quite bullish, as we can see. But it's also got very strong resistance up ahead. So I'm bullish. It's got higher lows, higher highs. Looks bullish. So there's, I mean, out of all of these so far, which is about 25, 26, 27 pairs, there have been at least half of those are offering some opportunity, and the rest don't look great. That's really good. Much more than normal. Let's look at gold. So just noting, the gold monthly chart has got that bullish candle setting up. But it's the 3rd of December. It's just, it could be the whole of December. It could just be it climbing. That's possible. But it's also at the same time, the game's not over yet. It's coming into this area here. Could potentially reverse and continue down. So just keep an eye on that. Just be cautious of those possibilities. Silver, if gold does that, then I believe silver is going to do a really nice, well-earned move down to 21 or to 19, and then we've got some good buying opportunities on this. We like that because the longer-term trend is probably to the upside, which means that when the daily starts trending higher, we should get better quality trends on the lower time frame because the stars have all aligned. So I would like for it to go further down before turning around so that we have more space to the upside to trade, to make money from. Copper is, as I said, copper's topping out. Definitely overextended. Price action struggling a little bit. You can see it's starting to top out a bit. I think it does need to come back down. And so cautious on that one. Platinum, lovely, but now starting to enter overextended territory. So caution, it looks great. Palladium, I just stay away from. It's still messy. Let's look at crude and crude oils. I did highlight the bullish candle yesterday, but it's also struggling. When I look at it here, it's not looking that bullish actually, and it's right at monthly resistance. That previous chart, Brent, is sitting right at monthly resistance. So we're not in the clear really on that. Light crude. So it could be setting up to go, but a lot of it is sitting. But when I look at the 4 hourly, it's just not looking great. Cryptos. I think Bitcoin is going to top out in this area, so I think it's higher risk. But there is a daily setup there for potential swing trade. So there could be some very, very short-term moves up to 20,000. Very small if you want to do that. But depends on your spreads, depends on your platform. Let's look at the Dow and so on and so forth. We've got some resistance on that. So again, until we get past that resistance, we could still fail. The market could drop from there, or it could break through and keep climbing. So basically, that's all I'm doing is watching those resistance levels. For example, the NASDAQ has broken outside of that range, but now it's just going sideways. And so actually in the next 2 hours, the US will come online, and if it's bullish, it will start to move to the upside. Okay, so there could be some breakouts and it could start becoming, or if it's going to ultimately retrace, we're going to see it's heading lower today. The price action in isolation looks more bullish than bearish, but we have to see what happens when the US comes online. There's nothing to trade right now anyway. That FTSE looks really keen. That looks quite keen on that one. The DAX doing a retracement into this level could actually start to turn around and go into 1 hour during the US session, so I have to keep an eye on that. The French CAC, again, also going sideways, but it actually could start to break up above the daily pivot and start to climb higher if it's going to end as a bullish day. Stocks 600, same thing as what I just said on the CAC, same thing. The Nikkei overall is still looking relatively bullish, but definitely is due for a bit of a retracement. At some point, I expect it to come back down. The S&P, the ASX 200, might have a potential issue there. That's pretty much it. So let's have a look at some of these other commodities as well. Go through. RBOB gasoline, the bullish, again, there was a pullback into that level and a bullish candle there, so that could start to move to the upside. Natural gas, Beautiful for shorts. It's coming into previous lows, so it could bounce off that, off here. But wow, very nice. Heating oil, too little to tell. Could actually turn around and go up on the daily. Looks like a potential uptrend coming into play there. Lumber, not great. Pass. Cocoa. Cocoa, keep an eye on that. The daily might turn around. Coffee is also strong resistance up here. Could end up climbing back up into that and producing a breakout flat level. Milk, nope, too thin. Live cattle looks bullish, but nothing intraday that I could see unless you consider this a flat level breakout over here. Could be that. Boom. Feeder cattle looks bullish, looks good. Nice little candles over here and over here. It's got to get above the daily pivots. I think it's battling with that, but looks good. That 4 hour looks nice. Lean hogs. Mess. Now the dog's going to go nuts. Someone's at the door. And I think that's probably the value. Anyway, we're almost done, so it doesn't matter. Canola, consolidation, staying away from that. Cotton, no. Wheat, more bearish than bullish. That's fine. Rough rice. None of these really jumping out. Sugar, no. I'm a little cautious of that. Orange juice, more bullish than bearish, but also got very strong resistance up there. Oats could be potentially good for shorting, but that I'd wait until tomorrow. Soybean, that actually might be setting up to go long, so it could be bullish throughout the rest of the day, but there is strong resistance at 1.2. Soybean oil will be similar. If that's going to be the thing, it's going to be the same thing. And look at that resistance over here on soybean meal. So there's a possibility on the soybeans that they're going to climb, but they're going to hit a brick wall, a ceiling, pretty quickly. And that is it. That's it. There aren't any of the other ones for now. Any other questions, guys? Because that was it. That was almost exactly 30 minutes. Not very long, guys or girls, of course. Everyone's welcome. But any other questions to do with that? Otherwise, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. And I will try and do it tomorrow. Maybe what we do is we do it during non-farm payroll tomorrow. So from 1:15 till 1:45, half an hour, see how non-farm payroll plays out, how today played out in tomorrow, and see how that goes. If everyone wants to do that, I'm okay with that. You can see this is climbing. So even here, you'll see 5 minutes. Your 5 minutes is going to provide you with some big moves. Just remember the news, non-farm payroll. Okay. Aussie CAD, yes you did. Aussie CAD was not really right now. Strong resistance where it is and a weekly resistance level up there. So not ideal. Nothing on Aussie CAD really. Aussie Yen I think was the nice one. Okay guys, thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. And that's it. So trade well, trade carefully, and we'll see you then. Okay.